how small it is. It's really tiny. Would you believe that this camera can produce a fantastic image quality? Intro. Alright guys, welcome back to our channel. Luca here from the Underwater Tribe. Before we jump right into this short review and impressions about the Z-Cam E2, I would like to give a shout out to Andy that made this review possible by giving us the camera to test for the last couple of days. Andy from Ocean Pixel is the Nauticam distributor here in Bali. You can find the link in the description, and if you're looking for some underwater equipment for your photography or videography, he's the guy that can help you out. See the link in the description. Right, the Z-Cam E2, the model that we have is the one with the Micro Four Third sensor, and what we set it up with was a small HD monitor, as well an Olympus lens. As a storage unit we use an SSD and of 1 terabyte, so it gave us at full res up to 13 hours of recording time. That was plenty, and it used on the back a Sony battery. And for what is the specs of this camera, you can find many reviews online already, so I will be very brief about it. The most important, it can shoot 4K up to 150 frames per second in ProRes internal recording in cinematic crop. What I was looking for in this camera was not the full range of 150 frames per second, but I would be very happy if this camera can produce a great image quality at 4K 60 frames per second, so that I can use the camera paired up on set with my RED, the RED as an A camera and the Z-Cam as a B camera eventually. And I was very impressed with the result obtained. I will put the images in a moment, and you can be the judge for yourself of the quality produced and delivered by this camera. I really put it side by side with the RED, so I had both on tripods. I was shooting the same scene with the RED and the same scene with the Z-Cam, so you can see first the RED, then you can see the Z-Cam, and then you can see them side by side. I did a little bit of color matching the two. I didn't do a great job, to be honest. I didn't spend that much time. If I would be, let's say, on a production job, for sure I would spend more hours to really achieve the same look of both. And as a first impression of the camera was very straightforward and intuitive, so the setup is very simple. I put all these items in the description that you will need to be able to shoot, and the menu also was very straightforward. If you know already, of course, about filmmaking and camera equipment, it's very straightforward. So I set up the camera for this test at 4K 24 frames per second for most of it, and then I changed the ISO, as you will see in the images, and the white balance I left it on automatic. One thing though that was pretty annoying with this camera was the fact that to navigate through that menu you need to use these buttons in here, and these rubber buttons can be a little bit annoying and quite hard to press. It was not the best experience that I had. Of course, a touch screen would have been like a big plus and very useful. However, I've seen on the internet that you can actually download an app to your phone, and then you will be able to change the setting with the app. Another thing that I didn't really like is the fact that the monitor is connected by an HDMI cable, and HDMI is not the best connection in my opinion for monitors. In fact, during this shoot I had a few times some syncing problem, and I had to remove the cable and plug it back in. So now was not such a big deal because I was here on the surface shooting some outdoor. However, if I would be underwater where everything is sealed and connected to one another, that would be impossible for me to disconnect the cable and put it back. So this is something that I would consider for underwater production, and maybe not take this camera underwater as a big camera, but use something else like the Sony a7S II that we have here at the tribe. For me, what was very important to test was the image quality. So I wanted to look how noisy was the image produced in low light. I wanted to check how good was the dynamic range, let's say when I go into those high contrast images. I wanted to see how good was the highlight roll-off. So all these three factors were basically the main one that I wanted to look for. Of course, I couldn't really test on reliability. That's a big issue for sure that needs to be considered, and I couldn't really test it because I used the camera just for a couple of hours. My final verdict is it's a fantastic camera for the price tag. Definitely it's something that you should consider in taking it, because another factor that I wanted to test was, for instance, how much I could push that file of 10-bit in DaVinci Resolve, and I could really go and push it and create good looks. It retained the highlights very well, the shadows were very nice, the contrast created by the camera itself was very good too. I used the Z-Log in it, which is a flat profile, or the raw, as you would call it, produced by the camera. I saw that also Zcam offer a different option, which is a 6K resolution with a super 35mm sensor. It comes with a Canon mount, which I also have for my RED, and as I have Canon lenses, I would be able to also swap lenses from one camera to the other, so it makes more sense for me rather than invest now in these micro four third lenses. And the 6K version does not do 150 frames per second, but it does 60 frames per second, 4K if you record with an Atomos Ninja 5, for example. And so I leave to you to judge what the quality from this camera is. Here are the images side by side, and let me know in the description what you think about it. Let me know in the description if you would like me to test something different, maybe dig deep a little bit with DaVinci Resolve and see how actually the file is and how it reacts. And please, if you enjoyed this segment, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell notification, give us a like to this video, and I hope to see you on the next one. Maybe taking the camera underwater, who knows. See you guys on the next one.